So my fiancé, 24, and I, 27, got engaged in May and are currently planning for our wedding in August. It's worth mentioning that I'm the sole earner because my fiancé is still in university. I've saved up decent amount of money to afford the wedding. Thing is, her parents get involved in everything. From picking the engagement ring on my behalf, to giving opinions on where we should rent, and now my future mother-in-law is constantly giving opinions on our wedding. Future mother-in-law would follow up on everything we do and make negative comments on things like the best man, the guest list, and food. She told my fiancé she didn't like who I picked to be my best man and wanted me to replace him after a big argument, but I said no. Though my fiancé said we should have just done it. Future mother-in-law also wanted me to uninvite people I wanted at the wedding so she could add more guests on her side of family. I said no to that also. Now the current or biggest conflict between us. Mother-in-law called saying she didn't like the venue we picked, which is in our hometown. She wanted me to reconsider, but I said no since my fiancé liked it too. But my fiancé came to me yesterday to show me a venue her mom picked and already paid for, saying, since she paid for it then I should say yes this time. I was in shock and angry, because not only did she not consult us, but the venue she picked is 3 towns away, where my brother-in-law lives. I immediately thought about my disabled parents who cannot travel this distance for health reasons. Besides that, most of my family won't attend because of distance. I said absolutely not agreeing on this venue. My fiancé said she disagreed with me, and I had no right to complain because her mom and dad paid a lot of money for this venue as wedding gift, and we should accept it. I calmly explained why I refused, and she kept saying I'm refusing on purpose because I hate her mom and am playing cat and mouse with her. I bluntly said her mom is indeed making this a game and told my fiancé she's either with me or against on this issue. She either backs me up or there won't be any more wedding planning. She got upset and started crying, asking what she's going to tell her mom and why I was making her choose between me and her parents, but I just feel like she's refusing to see why I don't want this specific venue. So what if her brother lives there? I have never been to that town, so having the wedding just cause her mom paid for the venue is not okay. We haven't talked ever since that argument. My friend called me ungrateful fool for turning away a free wedding venue over distance, but I can't help but feel future mother-in-law did it purposely. Not the idiot, but this is a very good peek into your future. Your mother-in-law is going to do this all the time about everything, and it doesn't sound like your fiancé has the spine to stand up to her. You need to have a conversation with her about your partnership and her mother. If you're happy to deal with this for the rest of your life, then good luck with the wedding, but if you don't want her interfering with everything, imagine when she becomes a grandmother. Then you need to take pause and consider whether this is what you want forever. Not the idiot. I'm sorry, but I seem to be missing the part where future mother-in-law decided they were getting married instead of you and your spouse. This is your day, yours and your wife's. You didn't ask them to pick a venue, you didn't ask them to pay for it. Far as I can tell, you didn't ask them for anything. Before anything else, I would have a strong talk with your wife. Not about the wedding, but about how much she wants her parents in your personal lives. If this is going to continue, if they're going to be making important decisions without your input or approval, you need to know that now, before you commit to a lifetime in their service. Cause they sure as hell won't be serving you. Not the idiot. But you two need to have a real tough talk here. By building a life with you, marrying you, your fiancé is choosing you over her parents. She is creating a team with you, and you two should be a unit to the rest of the world. Yes, it's a good idea to consider the feelings of others, especially loved ones. But your fiancé is used to letting her mom rule her life. Either fiancé needs to tell mom to stop and mean it, or you need to decide whether you really want all of your life decisions impacted by her mother. What else does her mother get to have a say on? Where you live? What jobs you two have? If you have kids, and when and how many, and how to raise them. Tread carefully. My husband passed away 7 years ago due to cancer, and I've struggled to take care of my 4 kids, 6, 8, 10, and 20, as a single parent, but I've always done the best that I can. We lived in a safe neighborhood, there was always food in the fridge, and I tried to take them out to games, movies, or treat them whenever I could. However, I did have to work multiple shifts, and I could not afford a babysitter. As a result, my older daughter had to take care of her younger siblings after school most weekdays. She's become very resentful towards me because of that, and said I robbed her of her childhood, but I was not sure what else to do. I was working almost 12 or 14-hour days just to provide a safe environment for the kids, and had absolutely no savings afterwards. It was a horrible situation, but I just had no money at all to put towards a babysitter. My daughter left home when she was 18 and cut contact with all of us for the last 2 years. Some of my friends and neighbors offered to watch the younger kids while I worked some days, and I was in a better financial place at this point, so we were able to scrape by without her help. However, she reached out to me a couple months ago and said she was struggling during the pandemic and asked if she could move back in with me, and I said absolutely. However, ever since she's been back living with us in our new house, there have been a lot of fights over finances. My husband is a dentist with his own practice and makes very good money. My daughter's been saying that he should help pay for her college amongst other things, like helping her get a new car, etc. This has caused a lot of problems between my husband and I told her that he doesn't know her at all. She also refused to come to the wedding, and it's not fair for me to make him give her money. She's been causing a lot of fights at our house because of this, and we're at the end of our patience and close to telling her she needs to move out. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You forced her to give up her childhood to watch kids you chose to have. She didn't ask for it. I'm sorry your husband died, but that doesn't give you the right to foist responsibility of your children onto your daughter. I don't think you should have had 4 kids not knowing if you have, or make enough money if one spouse dies. You owe your daughter an apology. A real apology, not one that has the underlying vibe of I was too busy working and I had it worse than you, which your post just screams. I say you are the idiot. I think made several bad life choices, but I'm willing to bet none of those choices were malignant. Maybe no one told you the importance of having life insurance, or maybe you weren't prepared to have 4 kids. But essentially you've robbed this child of her childhood, whether you like it or not, and now may be deeply impacted her future. You should make strides to make it up to her. If you don't want to use your husband's money, then get a job and pay her back. You are the idiot because you really owe her a big one, and you don't sound like you think you owe her, or that even you're grateful. Even if you don't want your husband to have to pay or don't have the money yourself right now to pay, your attitude is all wrong. You should be apologetic towards her regardless of what your circumstances were, because hers seemed to have been worse. But all you do is rationalize how you treated her to the core. It's really crappy, OP. My daughter, 13, just dyed her hair pink. It's fine, I don't love it, but it's hair and it won't last forever. The rule in our house is that she can independently make choices for temporary stuff like hair, but for permanent things like piercings she needs to get permission. So pink hair is whatever to me. Her school, however, called me to pretty much order me to dye it to a natural shade. I checked the school dress code, and it doesn't dictate anything about hair color. I asked if she was breaking any rules that were written down somewhere other than the dress code, and they said no, but they still want her to dye it. So I asked why. They gave me 2 reasons. First, that it's distracting for other kids in her class. Which I guess maybe. But I'm a teacher too, and I find these things are only as distracting as the teacher makes them. Like, kids will talk about it for 2 days or something, and then find something else to talk about, unless the teacher makes it a big issue to fight over. The second is that since the school has uniforms, my daughter represents them when she goes out after classes, and it makes them look bad. And I'm just not convinced by that. She's one of 2,000 kids at this school, and she's a nice kid who doesn't get into trouble, and who happens to have pink hair. I think their reputation will survive. So the principal passed a new rule that all hair colors now have to be ones that occur in nature. I talked to my daughter about it, and she really doesn't want to dye it again. She had it bleached so that the pink dye would set, and dyeing it again so soon would pretty much fry it. Also, going to a school with uniforms means that she doesn't get to make lots of choices about how she looks every day. She chose the pink, she likes it, and she wants to keep it. So I called the principal back and said my daughter's hair color should be grandfathered in, since it was dyed before the rule was passed. She won't dye it any more bright colors after the pink, but she should get to keep the pink. Now he wants me to go to the school governor's meeting and talk to them. Honestly, it's just hair, and maybe I should just make her dye it back to avoid the conflict. But I really feel like I'm right here. Am I the idiot? The school pulled this when I dyed my daughter's hair. I asked if they would pay for her to get her hair dyed again, and told me no, so I said it would stay, because it wasn't that distracting. My daughter said only a few people commented for one day, and after that no one said anything. I also told them, if that was distracting, they needed to implement uniforms, not allow kids to wear new glasses or shoes, and everyone should maybe just wear potato sacks. They did not like me as a parent. So totally not the idiot. Not the idiot, and if it doesn't cost you anything, fight them as far as you need to. Not because pink or no pink matters, but because children are people, and they should be encouraged to be who they are as long as it's not harming anyone. And because as a daughter who once had a fight with school, having my mom come through for me and show me that I was allowed to fight for what I believe in, even if some people try to get me to stop. It wasn't over hair color, but it made me realize how lucky I was to have a parent who believed me when I said things, and who would fight for me. Not the idiot. This is 50s thinking. They need to join the current millennium. I grew up in a small town, and there was a girl that dyed her hair with food coloring or Kool-Aid in a rainbow pattern. This was long before that kind of thing was popular. She also got a nose ring. No teacher or admin said a word about it, so the talk died out in less than a day, and then it was all old news. Things like that don't affect learning whatsoever, unless the administration makes it such a big deal that it becomes the focus. 1 month ago, my wife Jay, 33, and I, 34, had a small wedding ceremony in my hometown. I'm Scottish. Jay is American. We met in school. The ceremony and reception were both incredible, and I'm thrilled to be married to the love of my life. That being said, a few nights ago we got into an argument over this that turned into a big fight, and I need some objective input on the situation, because I'm not sure where I stand now. When we were planning the wedding, Jay did the majority of the planning, but I did try to help where I could without overstepping. I brought up to Jay that I wanted to wear my late father's kilt on our wedding day. My father and I were always extremely close, and losing him has been difficult. Having something to remember him by on our wedding day. When I ran this by Jay, she said that she thinks that kilts look stupid, and our wedding photos would be embarrassing. However, after explaining the importance of the kilt, she seemed to understand and said that I could wear it if I needed something to remember him by. At the time, I thought we were in complete agreement. So, on our wedding day, I wore my father's kilt. A handful of family members also wore kilts. It was about 50-50. Jay never once said anything about it then. But a few days ago, when we got our wedding photos back, I saw that the photographer had photoshopped out my kilt. When I brought this up with Jay, she told me that she found it embarrassing and didn't want wedding photos of them. I really had thought we were on the same page about this, as it really meant a lot to me. We ended up getting into a huge fight, where she accused me of not respecting her, and I accused her of not respecting my father and my culture. I went out that night with my friends who took my side, but got a nasty text from her friend accusing me of being selfish and uncaring. I haven't apologized to Jay, and don't plan on it. I feel that she should have spoken up on this instead of just agreeing with me and expecting me to figure it out. I honestly thought we had been on the same page about this after she gave me the okay before our wedding. I know, this dumb, but I could stand to hear some objective input. Sorry if this is jumbled or unclear. Thanks. Not the idiot. Communication is a two-way thing. If she doesn't agree, she has to speak up about it. It's not your responsibility to figure out that she is against it. It's not up to you to figure out the nuances in her words and read between the lines or read her mind. It takes two to freaking tango. There are two people who are the wedding's main protagonists. You bother to discuss it with her. It's her fault for not giving her explicit opinions about it and causing this fight. Not the idiot. She is, in fact, disrespecting your late father and your culture. As an American, she doesn't get to say whether kilts look stupid. Does the photographer still have the original pictures? Can you get them? Maybe you can explain that you were not in agreement about photoshopping out the kilt. If your wife still insists on erasing your history, perhaps she should hear from your relatives about it, all of them. Photoshopping your attire and poor communication, your wife is the idiot. Weddings are for both parties. Really tired of these Britazillas thinking men are just decorative pieces with a few scripted lines, and any variation from that is ruining their perfect wedding. Some men imagine their wedding, or have things they want to include in that day. It's 50% their day too. She thought that this wedding is all about her. She married a Scotsman. How does she have so little understanding or respect for your culture? I don't think I could be with someone who behaves this way.